time to talk about the Pac-12, ladies and gentlemen. The Pac-12. The Pac-12. It's so much to get into in the Pac-12, all right? So let's jump right into it. First and foremost, your champions, the Utah Utes, ladies and gentlemen, are your Pac-12 champions. And not only they are your Pac-12 champions, they are back-to-back Pac-12 champions, ladies and gentlemen. They have won the Pac-12 the last 2 years. They saw their record. They was 10-4 overall on the season, 7-2 in the conference play. They beat the USC Trojans. They go back to back. USC finished the season 11-3 overall, 8-1 in conference play. Coming in third was the Washington Huskies with a record of 11-12, 7-2 in conference play. Then the Oregon Ducks, 10-3 on the year, 7-2 in conference play. Followed by coming in fifth is the Oregon State Beavers, 10-3 on the overall season, 6-3 as well. The same as the UCLA Bruins, who had a 10-3 conference record, but they was 9-4 overall. Okay. Now, when we previewed the Big Ten, we had some Pac-12 schools going there. When we just previewed the Big 12, we had some Pac-12 schools going over there. So let's just recap how the demise of the Pac-12 have taken place. So let's just say about 2 years ago, the LA schools have decided, you know what? We want to go to the Big Ten. So they made their announcement. There was some turmoil within the Pac-12. We do this and you do that, and all of a sudden it became okay. It is what it is. USC, UCLA are going to the Big Ten in 2024. So we know a year two in advance that the LA schools was heading to the Pac to the Big Ten from the Pac-12. Now, as I stated when we started talking about the Big 12, around July 27, Colorado said we want to move back to the Big 12 for next season. They left the, the Big 12 in 2010 to come to the Pac-12. And in those plus decade time within the Pac-12, Colorado didn't really do much. Matter of fact, I don't even think Colorado even won the Pac-12 championship. Let me do some research where I'm live on here. Uh, I don't think Colorado has ever won the Pac-12. If I'm thinking about it, I'm just looking. I just want to look. Have Colorado ever won the Pac-12? Nope. I don't see a Pac-12 title around the Colorado Buffaloes because I'm looking at it. No. They won a Pac-12 South Division title, but I don't think they won a Pac-12 title. Nope. The last time the Colorado Buffaloes won a conference title, 2001, and when they was in the Big 12. So no, they haven't done nothing since they've been in the Pac-12. So they moving back to the Big 12. Okay, that's fine. And then that faithful Saturday of August, no, that faithful Friday of August 4th and August 5th, because SummerSlam was at that time, a whole bunch of news out of the Pac-12 was racing out. Before you knew it, Oregon and Washington made it known that they are leaving the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten next season. And then following that, the rumors of Arizona State and Utah wants to go to the Big 12 and leave the Pac-12. And then what I said, and when we previewed the Big 12, Arizona came out of nowhere and was unanimously voted in to join the Big 12, then followed by unanimously voted in Arizona State and Utah to join the Big 12. So before you know it, you was already losing two schools, but that was years in advance. So you already knew you were going to be down to 10. And then before you know it, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah, that's 6 teams, just decided to leave for the Big 12 and the Pac and for the Big 12 and the Big 10. Out of nowhere. Just out of nowhere. So when you look at it, it's like, well, damn, what is going to happen with the Pac 12? And to answer that question is Who knows? Because they try to offer up Cal and Stanford to the ACC, and the ACC says no. They opposed them at talks with them out the West, so joined it together, and the Mountain West said no. So as of right now, at the end of the 2023 sports calendar year, which is in July, July 24th, the Pac-12 will be down to four teams: Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford. Now, let's go into the final year of the Pac-12, shall we? USC is the favorite to win the Pac-12, followed by Washington. The two-time defending champs are third in Utah, followed by Oregon, and Oregon State with UCLA running out the first half at number 6. So let's take a look at those 16, shall we? Let's begin with the two-time defending Pac-12 champions, the Utah Utes. They open up their season next Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, at home against my Florida Gators, all right? You took a trip down to the swamp last year. You got gator baited after Anthony Richardson refused to go down the two-month conversion and made things happen. You lost in the swamp. Now you want payback. We coming to you. We shall see. Y'all are ranked. We are not. It is what it is. Bitch must happen last year. Y'all was ranked. We wasn't. You came to the swamp. You took an L. Maybe same thing happens again. Y'all ranked. We're not ranked. We going there. We give you another L. We shall see. But yeah. I'll talk about that next week. Okay. Then after that, September 9th, you go to Baylor. Out the gate, Utah is playing a SEC school and they playing a Big 12 school out the gate. Okay? It's going to be interesting to see how those two games work out for the Utah Utes, especially when you're talking about being defending Pac-12 champions in back-to-back years. Then you open up your Pac-12 schedule on the 23rd of September when you face the UCLA Bruins at home. Then you take a trip on the 29th of September to Oregon State. Then on the 21st of October, you go to take on the USC Trojans. You have a home game on the 28th of October with the Oregon Ducks before you head to Washington on the 11th and finish it out against Coach Prime at home against the Buffaloes. That is Utah. Let's look at Washington. Washington, they open up their season on the 2nd of September against the Boise State Broncos. Okay. That should be an interesting game. It's in Washington. It's in Seattle, so it should be a home field advantage for Washington. But it is Boise State, okay? So let's not sleep on them. After you play Boise State, okay, on the 16th of September, you take the long trip from Seattle, Washington, all the way to East Lansing, Michigan, to face off with the Michigan State Spartans, and they won't be revengeful after what y'all did to them up in Seattle last year. That should be fun. You open up your Pac-12 schedule on the 14th of October when you face the Oregon Ducks. Then on November 4th, you go to LA to take on the USC Trojans. Obviously, you got your home date on the 11th with the Utah Utes in November. You go to Oregon State on the 18th of November before you finish it off with the Apple Cup, what might be the final Apple Cup as we know it, against Washington State at home in Seattle. That is that for the Washington Huskies. Let's go to the favorites, the USC Trojans, okay? The USC Trojans, their first big test comes at late September, September 30th, when they got to go to Boulder, Colorado to take on Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes, okay? Then their next test is October 14th when they go to South Bend to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Rivalry game, anything happen, especially at South Bend, okay? Then you get back into your Pac-12 scheduling on the 21st when you have to face off with the Utah Utes at home. You have Washington at home to kick off November. You go to Eugene, Oregon on the 11th of November. They take on the Oregon Ducks. And of course, the battle for LA, which will be at the Coliseum this year when the UCLA Bruins come there to take on the Trojans. All right. That is the Trojans slate, key slate. Just look at the Oregon Ducks key slate, okay? The Oregon Ducks key slate, they got to go to Lubbock, Texas on the 9th of September to take on the Texas Red Raiders. That should be an interesting road game for them. Pac-12, Big 12 matchup. Then you get your first Pac-12 matchup when you host, ladies and gentlemen, Colorado and Coach Prime. You go to Seattle to take on Washington. You want payback for that because they took you down. That's the reason why you didn't make the Pac-12 championship because you lost to Washington. Then you go to Washington. Then you go to Utah on the 28th of October. That's not a good. That's a tricky game for the Oregon Ducks. That's two tricky games for them at Washington and at Utah. You host the USC Trojans. Then you host what was known as the Civil War. It's no longer known as the Civil War. I don't know what it is now. What is the Oregon Classic? I think between Oregon and Oregon State now. But you host them to finish out the season on November 24th. All right. Speaking of Oregon State, let's go to their schedule. Okay. September 16th, the home matchup with the San Diego State Aztecs. Tricky game. Mountain West team like to beat up on Pac-12 team. Can Oregon State not fall victim to another Mountain West team? We shall see. But it's at home in Corvallis. You go. You head to Washington State. You have a home date with the Utah Utes on the 29th of September. October 14th, you have a home date with the UCLA Bruins. And to begin the month of November, November 4th, you go to Boulder to take on Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. You have Washington at home on the 18th of November, and of course the Oregon Classic, as I'm going to call it, on the 24th of November against Oregon in Eugene. And then that brings us to the other LA school, the UCLA Bruins, and they will be seeing the San Diego State Aztecs before the Oregon State Beavers do, because the week before San Diego plays San Diego in Corvallis, the Aztecs got to go to LA to take on the Bruins. Then on the September 23rd, you take the trip to Utah to face off with the Utes. October 14th, you go to said Oregon State. You have Coach Prime at home on the 28th of October. You go to Arizona on November 4th. Normally, that's the type of game I wouldn't put on as a key game, but it's at Arizona. It's probably the final time Arizona gonna get a crack at you. So I'm pretty sure they might put everything they got into it for one last bitter taste in UCLA's mouth before the All LA battle at the Coliseum against the USC Trojans. So you have the key games. You see the six teams that the media has in order. Hey, with the USC being the ones they think coming out on top. For me, I'm going Oregon. I'm going Oregon. Just like Oklahoma, who's been dominating the Pac-12 as of lately. It's been the Oregon Ducks. Now Utah beat them the first time for the Pac-12 title. Then they beat USC for the Pac-12 title. So they all are not nothing to sneeze at. Okay, you beat two of the top teams that has been known to beat in the Pac-12. You took care of Oregon first, and you came back the next year. And you took care of the UCLA. You took care of USC. I'm still picking Oregon. All right, you know why? Because it's Oregon, man. Oregon just have a way of not being down for long. They just have a way for not being down for long, and I can't ignore that. So I'm rolling with the Ducks. Okay, I am rolling with the Ducks. So that is my fourth team and fourth conference that I have previewed. As you can see here, Clemson, ACC, Michigan, Big 12, Oklahoma, Big 12, and did I say Big 12 for Michigan? Let me try it again. Clemson, ACC, Michigan, Big 10, Oklahoma, Big 12, and Oregon, Pac 12.